All right, so having seen finding matrix inverses using graphing calculator technology, uh, there is a shortcut that might actually be easier to use for 2 by 2 matrices at least. This only works for 2 by 2. So given the matrix A equals ABCD as you see here, the inverse can be found by following, I don't know if you want to call it a formula or whatnot, but more or less a procedure or whatever you want to call it. So the multiplier out front is 1 over AD minus BC times another matrix. So let's just see how this comes about relative to the original matrix. So AD minus BC. Well, if I look at that, if I multiply A times D and B times C, so you notice that I'm multiplying left to right on the diagonal and then subtracting and then multiplying right to left on the diagonal. And that's how that number comes about. One thing to notice is that if AD minus BC is equal to 0, this means A inverse doesn't exist. So if you get 0 for that quantity, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It just means that the matrix doesn't have an inverse. And that's the end of the story. So that, in that regard, it's really nice to see that there's a quick way to tell if a matrix has an inverse. Now, the matrix part of it, so notice that the original matrix had A and D along the main diagonal, and this one has D and A. So that means that we just flip the elements around. And notice that the other diagonal, we just have negative signs in front of B and C. So there's kind of a nice little pattern to this, if you want to call it that. So previously with technology, we found the inverse of 2416. So let's see if we get the same answer. Just to recap that, this was the answer to the inverse in the previous video. So we have 3/4, negative 1/2, negative 1/8, 1/4. So let's see if we get the same thing. So the multiplier out front is 1 over, so it's 2 times 6 minus 4 times 1. And then the matrix inside, so we interchange the main diagonal and we put negatives in front of the other diagonal. So let's simplify this. We'll find the number out front and then we'll multiply it through and see if we get the same thing. So 2 times 6 is 12, 4 times 1 is 4, 12 minus 4 is 8, so we're multiplying something by 1/8. And if I multiply the 1/8 through, so let's see, 1/8 times 6 is 6/8, which is 3/4. 1/8 times negative 4 is negative 1/2. 1/8 times negative 1 is negative 1/8. And 1/8 times 2 is 1/4. And we got the same matrix. So there is your trick for a 2 by 2. If you would ever need to do that, might be quicker than going to the calculator. Thank you for watching.